Hello there, I'm Nicholas, and this is On Listening with Chi Rising Studio. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to think about the philosophical origins of TCM, Taoism, one of the most influential schools of thought in Chinese history. The principles of Taoism didn't just influence the creation of TCM, they fundamentally carved out its entire approach to health, wellness, and our relationship with the world around us. Let's start at the beginning. Taoism emerged in ancient China around 2,500 years ago. Whilst its specific origins are somewhat shrouded in mystery, it's often associated with the legendary figure Lao Tzu, believed to be the author of the Tao Te Ching, the foundational text of Taoist philosophy. The word Tao itself is often translated as the way, but it's a concept that defies simple definition. In the opening lines of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu writes, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao." It's a paradoxical statement that sets the tone for much of Taoist thought. At its core, Taoism is about harmony with nature, with others, and with ourselves. It emphasizes the importance of aligning ourselves with the natural flow of the universe, rather than struggling against it. This idea of going with the flow isn't about passivity, it's about understanding and working with the inherent patterns and rhythms of nature. To truly understand the influence of Taoism on TCM, we must journey back to the misty origins of Taoism itself. Picture ancient China during the tumultuous warring states period around 475 BCE. The land is fractured with rival kingdoms vying for supremacy, but amidst the chaos of battling armies and political intrigue, a quiet revolution is taking shape in the world of ideas. In the courts and marketplaces of the great cities, philosophers debate the nature of reality and the best way to govern. Confucians advocate for social order and moral cultivation. Legalists argue for strict laws and harsh punishments. But in this intellectual ferment, a different voice emerges, one that will soon change the course of Chinese thought forever. Legend speaks of a man reverently titled Lao Tzu, the Old Master. Some say he served as the keeper of the imperial archives, surrounded by ancient texts and the accumulated wisdom of generations. Disillusioned with the corruption and turmoil he sees around him, Lao Tzu is said to have decided to leave civilization behind. As he approaches the western border of the Chinese world, preparing to disappear into the unknown lands beyond, something remarkable happens. A guard, recognizing the wise old man, begs him to share his insights before departing. Now, we can't know for certain if this encounter truly happened, but the image it evokes of wisdom almost lost, then preserved at the last moment, captures something profound about the Taoist tradition. It speaks to the elusiveness of true understanding and how the most important truths often come to us unexpectedly if we're open to receiving them. Whether penned by a single sage in a burst of inspiration or compiled over generations, the result was the Tao Te Ching, 81 brief chapters that would form the cornerstone of Taoist philosophy. Its cryptic verses speak of the Tao, the ineffable way that underlies all existence. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. It begins immediately challenging our concepts of knowledge and reality. Imagine the impact of these ideas in a world torn by conflict, where competing schools of thought offered complex systems of ethics and governance. Here was a philosophy that pointed to something beyond all that, a natural order that required no striving, no forced virtue, no intricate laws. It must have been both perplexing and deeply liberating to its first audience. Lao Tzu's central insight was profound in its simplicity. Beneath the apparent chaos and complexity of the world lies a fundamental unity and harmony. He called this underlying reality the Tao, or the Way. But the Tao, he insisted, could not be captured in words or concepts. It was something to be experienced, not explained. Picture a mountain stream, its water flowing without effort around rocks and fallen trees. This, Lao Tzu might say, is the Tao in action. The water doesn't fight against obstacles, it simply finds the path of least resistance. In doing so, it shapes the very landscape through which it flows. This is the essence of Wu Wei, action without forcing, achievement without striving. Now, let's step further into this world. The air is thick with the scent of incense and rain-soaked earth. You find yourself on a winding mountain path, mist curling around ancient pines. Ahead, barely visible through the haze, is the silhouette of an old man. As you draw closer, you see he is dressed simply in rough-spun robes, his long white beard fluttering in the breeze. This is Lao Tzu, the old master. His eyes, when they meet yours, are deep ponds of tranquility that seem to reflect the very essence of the mountains around you. "Welcome, seeker," he says, his voice as gentle as falling leaves. "What brings you to this lonely path?" You hesitate, suddenly aware of the weight of your own striving, the constant push and pull of your desires and fears. Lao Tzu smiles, as if reading your thoughts. "Ah," he nods, "you've come far, carrying many burdens, but tell me, have you ever truly seen a cloud labour to float across the sky, or a tree strain to grow towards the sun?" He gestures to a gnarled pine clinging to the cliff face beside you. Its trunk is twisted, its branches reaching out at impossible angles, yet it stands strong against the wind. That tree, Lao Tzu continues, grows not by force, but by yielding. It bends with the wind, its roots seeking the path of least resistance through the rock. This is the way of nature. This is the way of the Tao. As you ponder his words, Lao Tzu begins to walk, motioning for you to follow. The path winds higher into the mountains, the air growing thin and crisp. You notice how the old man moves with surprising grace, each step placed with perfect economy of motion. The Tao, he says as you walk, cannot be grasped or controlled. It can only be experienced, like the wind on your face or the ground beneath your feet. To live in harmony with the Tao is to find the balance between action and non-action, between striving and allowing. You come to a cliff edge, the world spreading out before you in a tapestry of mist-shrouded valleys and distant peaks. Lao Tzu pauses, his gaze sweeping across the landscape. "Look," he says, pointing to a village nestled in the valley below. "See how the houses are built with the contours of the land, not against them. The fields follow the natural flow of water. This is Wu Wei in practice, achieving harmony by aligning with the natural way of things. As you watch, you begin to see the landscape with new eyes, the interplay of light and shadow, the dance of leaves in the wind, the slow erosion of stone by water, all seemed to speak of a deeper rhythm, a cosmic dance you had never before perceived. Now, tell me, he says, what ails you? What sickness of the body or spirit has driven you to seek answers in these mountains? You find yourself pouring out your troubles, physical ailments, emotional turmoil, spiritual doubts. Lao Tzu listens intently, nodding occasionally. When you finish, he is silent for what feels like an eternity, his gaze distant. In the body, as in nature, he finally says, health is a matter of balance. Illness arises when the flow of qi, the vital energy that animates all things, is blocked or disrupted. He plucks a leaf from a nearby bush, holding it up for you to see. Look closely, he says. See how the veins branch and flow, carrying life to every part. Your body is no different. When energy flows freely, health and vitality flow naturally. Lao Tzu begins to move through a series of slow, graceful movements. These practices, he explains, help to cultivate and direct the flow of qi. They are a way of aligning oneself with the rhythms of nature, of finding stillness in motion and motion in stillness. As you watch and begin to mimic his movements, you feel a subtle shift within yourself. There's a sense of energy flowing more freely, of tensions you hadn't even been aware of, beginning to release. Remember, Lao Tzu says as you practice, true healing is not about fighting against disease, but about restoring harmony. It is about listening to the wisdom of your own body and the natural world around you. As the sun begins to set, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Lao Tzu leads you to a small cave set in the mountainside. Inside, the walls are lined with jars of herbs and minerals, each carefully labelled with characters you don't recognize. These, he explains, gesturing to the jars, are some of the tools we use to help restore balance, but they are not magic potions or cure-alls. They are simply ways of supporting the body's own natural healing processes, of gently nudging it back into alignment with the Tao. He selects a few herbs, brewing them into a fragrant tea, which he offers to you. As you sip, feeling the warmth spread throughout your body, Lao Tzu speaks again. The path to health and harmony is not always easy, he says. It requires patience, mindfulness, and a willingness to let go of old patterns and beliefs. But it is a path open to all who are willing to walk it. As night falls and stars begin to twinkle in the velvety sky, you realize that your time with the old master is coming to an end. You feel changed, as if you've been given a glimpse into profound mystery. Lao Tzu seems to sense your thoughts. Do not try to hold on to this moment, he says gently. The Tao is ever present in every breath, every heartbeat. Go forth and live in harmony with the Tao, and you will find the wisdom that you seek. As you prepare to depart, Lao Tzu leaves you with one final teaching. Remember, the journey of 1,000 steps begins with a single step. Your path to health and harmony starts here, now, with each choice you make to align yourself with the natural flow of life. With these words echoing in your mind, you begin your descent from the mountain, carrying with you the timeless wisdom of the Tao. As you go, you feel a new sense of peace and purpose, knowing that you have taken the first steps on a profound journey of healing and self-discovery. As these ideas spread, they intertwined with China's indigenous traditions. Shamanic practices, early medicinal knowledge, and ancient beliefs about the cosmos all found new expression through the Taoist worldview. This synthesis laid the groundwork for what would become traditional Chinese medicine, a holistic approach to health that sees the human body as a microcosm of the universal order described in Taoist thought. But Taoism's influence extended far beyond medicine. It seeped into Chinese art, inspiring the misty landscapes of Sung Dynasty paintings that seemed to shimmer between reality and dream. It flowed through the brushstrokes of calligraphers who sought to capture the spontaneous movement of the Tao in their characters. It echoed in the verses of the Tang Dynasty poets who found in nature perfect metaphors for the human experience. In the realm of the martial arts, Taoist principles gave birth to Tai Chi and Qigong, practices that embody the paradoxical idea of action through non-action. Practitioners of these arts move with a fluid grace, demonstrating how softness can overcome hardness, just as water can wear away stone. As centuries passed, Taoism evolved. What began as a philosophical tradition developed religious dimensions. Temples rose from misty mountains, their graceful eaves seeming to float between earth and the heavens. Rituals established, some seeking to align human communities with cosmic rhythms, others pursuing the lofty goal of immortality. Taoist alchemists in their mountain retreats sought the elixir of life. Their experiments, whilst often dangerous, laid the foundations for Chinese chemistry and pharmacology. These seekers remind us that the quest for understanding is not always a straight path. Sometimes enduring wisdom emerges from what might seem like folly. Yet, even as it grew more complex, Taoism never lost its core emphasis on naturalness and spontaneity. This is perhaps best exemplified by the concept of Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action. It's the idea of aligning oneself so perfectly with the Tao that one's actions become as natural and effortless as water flowing downhill. Imagine just how radical this idea must have seemed in a society that valued active striving and moral self-cultivation. Yet it struck a chord deep in the Chinese psyche, offering a way to find peace and effectiveness amid life's complexities. This principle profoundly influenced TCM's approach to healing. Instead of aggressively attacking disease, TCM practitioners sought to restore the body's natural balance. They saw illness not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a sign of disharmony to be gently corrected. In their herbs and acupuncture needles, in their dietary advice and exercise recommendations, we can see the Taoist principle of working with, rather than against, the natural flow of things. One of the most fundamental concepts in both Taoism and TCM is the idea of yin and yang. We touched on this briefly in our last episode. Yin and yang represent complementary opposites: rest and activity, cold and heat, darkness and light. But they're not static states. They're in constant flux, always transforming into each other. In the classic symbol of yin and yang, the black and white swirls, we see this dynamic relationship. Each contains a dot of the other, symbolizing that nothing is absolute. Even in the depths of winter, we find the seeds of summer. This principle is crucial in TCM, where health is seen as a balance between yin and yang forces in the body. But yin and yang aren't just abstract concepts. They manifest in every aspect of our lives and our bodies. In TCM, different organs, emotions, and even times of day are associated with either yin or yang. Understanding these associations can help us listen more deeply to our bodies and our environment. Are we feeling overstimulated with racing thoughts and difficulty sleeping? This might indicate an excess of yang energy. Or are we feeling lethargic and unmotivated? This could suggest an excess of yin. The goal in TCM, as in Taoism, is not to eliminate either yin or yang, but to find balance between them. This balance isn't a fixed point, but a dynamic equilibrium that shifts with the rhythms of our lives and the seasons. In TCM, the goal isn't just to treat symptoms, but to understand the overall pattern of disharmony in the body. This holistic approach, considering the entire person rather than isolated symptoms, is a direct reflection of Taoist philosophy. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on how these ancient ideas might apply to our modern lives. In our fast-paced, often stressful world, the Taoist emphasis on balance and harmony can offer valuable guidance. Are we allowing ourselves time for both activity and rest? Are we in tune with the natural rhythms of our bodies and the world around us? As we wrap up our exploration of Taoism and its influence on TCM, I want to emphasize that we've only scratched the surface. The relationship between Taoism and TCM is rich and complex, with centuries of interplay between philosophy, spirituality, and medical practice. My hope is that you take away an appreciation for the depth of thought underlying TCM. It's not just a collection of techniques or remedies, but a comprehensive worldview that offers a unique perspective on health, wellness, and our place in the universe. In our modern world, with its emphasis on quick fixes and symptom suppression, the Taoist-influenced approach of TCM offers a valuable alternative. It reminds us to listen to our bodies, to nature, to the subtle energies that flow through and around us. It encourages us to seek balance and harmony, not just in our physical health, but in all aspects of our lives. As we continue our journey through the 5 elements in upcoming episodes, keep these Taoist principles in mind. They form the philosophical foundation for everything we'll be exploring. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Until next time, this is Nicholas. If you found value in this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend who might also find it interesting. Your support helps us continue to create this space for learning and growth. You can find out more about our studio and the podcast at chirising.studio.